blessing to me. It's changed a lot of my goals and strategies, where I thought I was going to be and what I wanted to do. So I take it as an honor to share with you, because normally I would never get up in front of a group. I am not that type of person, but when you, as Andy said, when you earn the right to talk about something which is your life and where you've come and where you are, it's a little different, so count it as a privilege. I started in real estate in 1974, working for my father, swinging a hammer, and then I worked my way up through the field and ended up selling homes in 1986, and about the time I set some goals for myself, which was to be in the rental business by the time I'm 55. I'm a little bit older than that right now, but I'm in the rental business, thank the Lord. And so right around that time I started selling houses. We were selling about 13 to 14 houses a year. They were custom houses, and the first year I took over sales, I sold 57 houses. Wow. And I kept that sales growth for 7.5 years. I was selling out before we even put the streets in. And right around that time I bought my first investment home. I paid $97,000 for it, and was able to get in it prior to closing. And so when I closed on the house, I actually had renters that moved in the basement, and they paid 85% of my monthly mortgage payment. So I continued to work on the house for 2 years, and then I sold that house, and I made $45,000 on it. 26 years old. I was actually about 27. Felt pretty proud of it. So I saved a lot of money during that time with someone paying the majority of my mortgage. And so I took that money and bought myself a tract of land and built a house on it. And I created this house as a historic home like Williamsburg, Virginia. Did oversized brick on it, cedar shake roof. It was incredible. Finished the house in approximately 2 years and sold that house, and I made $95,000 on it. I took that money and I built myself another house. This house was even grander. I thought, today's terms, that house would probably sell for about $1.4 million. Great neighborhood. I sold it and I made over about $230,000, $240,000 on that house.
Is this in Roanoke?
This is in Maryland. This is in Columbia, Maryland. Columbia, Maryland. So then I took that money and I got the heck out of town. And always loved Roanoke. I moved to Roanoke in 1993, and I ended up going to work for Boom Boom and Lowe. Those who know who that is, Lynn Boom. And I built the last phase of Branderwood subdivision at Buck Mountain Road in Starkey. And then I left there and I built the neighborhood at the top of Hunting Hills called the Courtyards. It's brick patio homes by the Hunting Hills Golf Course. Finished that up, and then I built a really big subdivision off of Cotton Hill Road called the Groves. During that time, I built my dream house, which I thought was my dream house at the time. I was actually designing the plans to it when I built that second house I told you about. But the cool part is, I built this house on 400 acres of land that I paid $170,000 for 400 acres. Pretty incredible, right? Didn't have a right-of-way to it, cleared the right-of-way, didn't have power going back there, cleared that, because I set goals when I was 26 years old that I wanted to be a farmer. I wanted to raise cattle. No one in my family did it, and I wanted to become somebody that had rental properties. So I had 48 head of cattle, raised cattle, quit that building company, Boom Boom Logan, went to work for a company called MW Windows, which is now Plygym Industries. And by the way, I'll share, I just have a high school education, so all this is self-learned. So I went to work for MW and worked my way up through the company and became a director of claims, product manager, manager of regulatory affairs, and I managed litigation for them. It was kind of really weird. I got put in that spot and I did it and did a good job. We used to get tied in about 30 lawsuits a year, mostly building envelope issues, stucco EFIS, the old stucco EFIS case. And And so I worked for them, worked my way up into the corporate part of the division, and became director of claim corporate Ply Gym Industries for all those divisions. Siding, windows, brick, stone, fencing. I think they're probably, to this day, probably the largest vinyl siding manufacturer in the United States, if not the world. And I worked for them for over 18 years, left them, but let me back up. So in 2005, I said, I'm getting out of corporate America. Traveling all over the world, flying everywhere, trying to raise cattle. This is just not for me. So I developed my farm, and I developed it, and it's one of the most beautiful parcels of land developments you've ever seen in your life. And I challenge you, go look at it. It's right on 220, just south of Rocky Mount. It's called Chestnut Mountain Estates, and it's on Bowie Lane, my last name. So check it out. The smallest parcel in there is 12.5 acres. Largest parcel is 48 acres. It's a large acre subdivision. I did it because I wanted to live there the rest of my life, and little did I know that I was going to go through a divorce and things were going to change. And but I started my building division in 2005, and it's Southwest Builders. And I bought another tract of land in the town of Rocky Mount. It was 48 acres. And I developed that. They had town water and sewer right through it. Took me 2 years to get city approvals for all the homes and everything. Built a pile of money and wrote off the majority of the profits. And what I did is I gave away 10 of the building lots to a nonprofit, and then I was able to write that exchange out as that gift, and I paid no taxes on that money. It was awesome. So rolling along, my building company, I left Ply Gym. I went to work for an engineer firm out of West Palm Beach, Florida, and I was a consultant for litigation cases. And I just finished up the last case last month. It was a case for Home Depot and Anderson Windows. But I've represented all the majority of the window manufacturers: 84 Lumber, BFS, Lowe's, Home Depot. When they would get sued in building envelope issues, they would hire someone. Encouragement. I have 5 rental homes now, and I bring in about $90,000 a year on the rental homes. I've learned from people in the class like David, hearing his testimony about paying for cash. I own everything. All my real estate is owned cash free. I do encourage you as far as, encouragements to class and stuff. My belief is we should all be diversified, not put everything in real estate. I learned the hard way. I was fully invested in real estate and ran some hard times in the past because it was all invested. So now I'm diversified. I own stocks, I own government T-bills, I own real estate, and who knows what else I'll own next. But, interesting. So Dennis used to hang drywall in one of the subdivisions that I built years ago, and Andy used to be my babysitter. No, I'm just kidding. I had a learning curve. I flipped a lot of houses too, and being a part of the class helped change that mindset. I'm never going to flip another house. I shouldn't say never. I don't have any plans to flip another house. I will keep every one of them and rent them out from here on. The other thing is, know what you want to do when you go into the house. Because so often we get into remodeling these houses and fixing them up, and the project gets bigger, and we end up with less profits, right? The house I just finished, I'd like to share with you a little bit about that. I paid $71,000 for it. I got about $8,000 in it, and I just rented it tonight for $14.50 a month.